Oh, look at you guys on this call. This is like the call of the beautiful people. It's amazing. Welcome to the call, my PT pals. I've been excited about this all week. So lots of our clients here at Tip the Balance, I know, would massively benefit from working with a PT. But God, they're scared about even making those first steps. So I wanted to show them that you are real life human beings. And we're going to talk today about some of those apprehensions that people have and how you guys help them to work through that, but also kind of motivate, inspire, nudge, poke, and energize them through that journey, as well as supporting them with all of the structures that you have in place for your business. But before any of that, I want to introduce my friends. So Gemma, we're going to go first with you. Who's Gemma Jones as a human being? That's a deep question to start a Friday morning.
A terrible question. I've got no idea. Hey, my name is Gemma. I am so as a human, I am
human. And then what kind, how come now you're operating as a PT? It's a life journey story, Gem.
Life journey, super quick. Always loved fitness. Didn't get into it until I was in my 20s, and then lost my dad to a brain tumor when I was 27. And basically it just spun me on a bit of a path of wanting to help people just live healthier lives, really, like in the short of it. So I retrained, quit my job, was a construction marketing manager for a construction firm. Right. Retrained trainer. I've done nutrition coaching, or I've done like nutrition courses, and I'm a CrossFit coach. So I just kind of wanted to get to a point where I could help people. And so I've been doing this for 3 years full time now. But I think it helps, like I think the other guys on the call as well probably agree with this, because I didn't jump into it straight from school or straight from university. I feel like life experience is a big one, like in terms of how I can help people, because, we go through things, and okay, yeah, I'm not in my 60s or 70s in terms of that sort of wisdom, but I feel like there's, that was just kind of my motivation. I was like, I've been through some things and I want to help people with their health and fitness and mental health as well, to help them improve their life in that capacity.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about CrossFit. What you mentioned, being a CrossFit PT. What does that mean?
So I CrossFit myself. So I work in a CrossFit gym, which is, a lot of people have a real misconception of CrossFit. They think it's full of men with their tops off, smashing down heavy barbells, and there is a little element of that, which I will never complain about. But it's actually really accessible. We have so many members who. So I also work a retreat in Portugal with people who, so a lot of my own clients as well. So in the gym, we have everyone from people who've never stepped inside a gym before to people who are kind of like getting into elite athlete level, who work really hard and who train like every single day in a hardcore. But then my own clients, I tend to work a lot with people who just want to get a little bit fitter, have maybe never gone to any gym before. So I kind of do both elements. The CrossFit side I love. I think empowering women in particular to lift weights is super important. It's not for everyone, and a lot of the stuff I've been doing in the last year has been more from home, but I feel like the changes I saw in myself, both physically and mentally, once I started lifting proper weights rather than doing dancey classes, which also have their place. I love both, but I saw much more of a shift in myself once I got into learning how to, because you learn how to move your body properly. And I think that's really important, that so many people go to all these classes for years and years and years and are never taught to move properly. So they've done it all wrong. And then that's how injuries start and stuff. So CrossFit's been very, very important for me in terms of learning how to coach properly, form and technique over weight and speed.
Interesting. Okay. And that was perfect lineup then, because I'm now going to go over to Emily. Because Emily, tell us a little bit about your background, who you are as a human, and your style of PT, or what you've done to bring you to this point.
Thanks, Beck. So yes, as Beck said, I'm Emily Gleeson-Mitchell. As a human, I'm a mummy to 2 small humans and a wife, and running my busy business. So my background is in the dance and fitness industry, and my degree is in sports therapy and rehabilitation. So most importantly, those fundamentally all fit together. So I get to train people in classes, and whether that be in group exercise or one-to-one personal training. And then if I break them, I can fix them again, which is great. Hopefully I do. Well, they go out and break themselves and then I fix them. So within the clinic space, I can work with a variety of clients, those that are just getting started on their path to fitness, if they notice any acute injuries, but also further on rehabilitation, so even postnatally, any kind of events that they're planning, anything they're working towards, I can work with them throughout that process. So I love my job. I love, very similar to Gemma, I love to inspire people to be healthy. I love to keep people motivated. And I miss that whole group exercise face-to-face thing right now, but we're currently operating online and that's still great. It's not for everybody, but it's another option. So yeah, I'm really fortunate. I do love my job.
Awesome. Ed, tell us about the boys in fitness. Tell us about you and how you as a human and how you've ended up here.
Me as a human. So yes, my name's Ed. I have 2 little children, Jackson and Phoenix, married to Sarah, who is also part of my business. We run Empower Fitness Coaching, which was originally just face-to-face. We migrated online about 2 years as a kind of, and then now we've basically gone all in online. Eventually we'll get back to face-to-face, which I'm really looking forward to. I've been a coach for almost 20 years. So yeah, I've been doing this a while. I've been around the world a little bit with it. I've worked in Australia, I worked in Sweden, various places in England. And I've always enjoyed fitness, training, sports, anything physical. So it was quite a natural progression for me to then career. So through doing that, I've managed to carve out a career that I really enjoy. I've worked with so many different people and I've enjoyed it. From literally, I train people at the moment who are 70 years of age. I've worked with kids, like primary school kids, and everything in between. So yeah, even 20 years in, my passion for doing what I do hasn't dwindled. For me, it really is. It's so cliche, but it's a lifestyle. I enjoy this lifestyle. I enjoy being physically active. And it's something that I want other people to do, because like you said, so many people have misconceptions about fitness, about training, about joining a group. And in my experience, and like without trying to sound too big-headed, it's vast. I've been doing it a long time. Most people want to join in with a group, with a trainer, with some sort of improvement in lifestyle, but they get stopped by the negative voice in their head, and also by society's view of certain things, i.e. trainers are like this, gyms are like this. And a massive part of what I want to do and have been doing is break down those barriers where people are like, they know they want to do something, they want to change their life, they don't like the way they look or the way they feel or the way their body's functioning or not functioning, but they're scared to make the first step. And this is massive. Once people make the first step, they're like, what was I even scared about? What was I worried?
Yeah.
Why haven't I done this 5, 10, 20 years ago, you know? So like I said, for me, I've always enjoyed it. I've had loads of experience in different gyms, different countries. It's been awesome. It's been a journey, and up to now, it's like the last year has been the strangest times ever in the fitness industry. But because we do have the ability to work online, these kind of things, Zooms or whatever it might be, it has just been about adapting. And now, hopefully, touch wood, coming out the other side, we'll get back face to face, and everything starts to improve. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
Awesome. So all three of you have mentioned working in gyms. Ed, you guys had your own gym pre-lockdown, didn't you, up in Stroud? And Emily, you've worked in the dance studio, haven't you, in Cleveland?
Yes, I forgot to cover that. So obviously I did used to have my dance studio, which I ran for many years. But subsequently, after an injury, my own injury that I had to rehab through myself over several years, I had to shut that down, unfortunately. So, you know, I've recognised that, exactly like you guys have all touched on, that journey, we all change and we all progress. And yes, I have done fitness right from school, college, and then going on to do university. But my journey has changed. My fitness has changed because of the injury I suffered. And so that's where my work is great, because I can help people get back on their path post-injury themselves as well, which is really, really lovely to be able to do.
So actually, for all of you, it's not just lockdown. Life circumstances have kind of opened up your minds as to how you can support your clients, and maybe that's helped all three of you to adapt more quickly as we've gone into lockdown, because you're like, yeah, well, I've done this before, been here before, I can, you know, we hate the word pivot, don't we, but I can move with this, I can adapt, I can change. And I guess, you know, that sort of answers my question about, you know, physically, I guess gone are the days of you can only work with a PT if you're going to join this gym and pay hundreds of pounds of membership for this gym.
Yeah, totally not needed.
So all of you are working. I was going to say all of you are working out of your home. Emily, you've got clinic at your home. And
Yes.
this is my table here. But Ed, there's a whole different aspect to your business as well, isn't there? Because Empower have a hugely empowering message about the value of being outside. Tell us about that a bit.
Absolutely. Well, it's always been something I've loved from starting training to this point. I've always worked outside, and I've always loved being outside. And a previous gym that I used to work at, they had massive grounds. It's in a park, a huge park, and like we just can't find any instructors willing to go outside and do a class. I'm like, well, I'll definitely do it. To me, it's mad to think that people don't like getting outside, but I don't know, maybe some don't, but I love it, and I've always loved it. And now through necessity, a lot of trainers will have to move outside to do group exercise. But I've always done it. It was the first thing I did completely for myself, because I used to work in various gyms around Stroud. And the first thing I ever did completely on my own was an outdoor boot camp class. We set that about, God, I don't even know, maybe 8 years ago, something like that. And we've always done it. And one of my things was, whatever the weather, whether it's snowing, whether it's torrential rain, whether it's very hot, whatever the weather, it's never, ever, ever cancelled because of weather. And it never has been in however long we've done it. There was one time when it was so windy we had to take it out of the woods because of the falling debris. But yeah, for me, it's human beings, like, depending on what you want to believe about our evolution, we've come from being outside. We've lived most of our existence primarily outside. And I think we're meant to do that. We're meant to be outside. We're meant to have the wind smashing us in the face. We're meant to experience rain, sun, like all of these things. As you know, like in terms of just general health, we need to be outside. We've got to get sunlight. We've got to get fresh air. So combine that with exercise. So for me, I love being outside, and I'm actually contemplating, although I do want another gym because I love the gym as well, maybe I will just continually just do outdoor classes. I'm kind of open-minded on that at the moment. So for me, it's always been if I can get outside, if I can train someone outside, I will do that. And just through lockdown, I've done all my live follow-along workouts. I always do them outside. So I do them 6 a.m. in the morning, and whether it was like it was about a month ago when it was like -9 or -10 one morning, I still did it. And it's the thing, it's like, it's not going to kill you. And once you start doing it and you realize there's actually like joining the gym, there's nothing to be scared of. It's just noise in your head. And once you overcome it, like, you're set free from that stumbling blocks. Like, people are like, I'm not going outside, it's raining. Well, we live in England, it's a lot. So if that's you going outside, you're going to be housebound a lot of times. So yeah, I love it for the physical reasons, being outside so good for you, but also the psychological reasons.
Yeah. Now this brings us to the kind of, you know, the massive impact that exercise has on our mental health. Gemma, you touched on how for you, it really helped you piece things back together after tough times. And Emily, you know, your rehab from injury, you know, a lot of it was about keeping your head in a good place as you rehabilitated from injury. But Gemma, interestingly, when you talk about lifting and the psychological effect of, you know, lifting weights and what that does emotionally, you know, working with a PT, physical exercise is huge for our mental health, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. So I realized the other day that one of the times that I realized how important fitness was to mental health was when, around the time my dad was, so he had a brain tumor, and he it took like 9 months from diagnosis to him passing away. And obviously that was like, as you know, everyone who's gone through loss, it's hard, like that's vile. You know, you are devastated, your family's devastated, you're trying to support the rest of your family, you know, someone you love more than anything in the world is dying. And I realized that the only time that I had complete clarity and complete clearness in my head was when I was working out. And I realized now that even, my dad's been gone 10 years now, but even I've gone through some other stuff since then, like personal stuff, you know, and if there's ever anything going on in my life that has been hard, the hour that I'm in the gym, especially if I'm working with other people or with a trainer or a PT or in a class, because I think having someone, if I was just in there on my own, I'm not sure it would be quite the same. But even if I'm doing my own thing, but there's other people around, you get in the zone. And I sometimes would look at the clock and I'm like, I've been in here an hour and I haven't thought about any of my problems from outside. And I think that has made me, and I have a dog, so for me, like, I totally get what Ed's saying about being outside. Like, I don't necessarily feel like I need to train outside all the time because I walk for 2 hours a day, like as you do outside. But it's the same thing. Like if you go for a walk, even I often put my music in or try and do some meditation, and you suddenly, before you know it, that time's gone. And I have friends who've and people I know who've really struggled with mental health, and I'm like I could really help you just by helping you move more, because that's the time when you can, like Ed said, if you can forget about all the reasons to not do something and just let yourself go with it. Like no one ever regrets a workout. I have never had someone come up to me after a class or after a PT session, and I've never felt myself, God, I really wish I hadn't done that. I feel so much worse now. Like you always come out feeling so much better. It's just getting over that. When I guess all three of it, or everyone who works in your group specs, everyone who works as a PT, you have to love people and want to help them to be in this job in the first place. And then you can, like, that whole making someone feel better about their day and forget about their problems and help them be moving better and getting into like better position with their body, getting their mobility going so that they can live longer, pain-free, and even working around people with injuries. Like it's freeing, and it gives you time for yourself, for your headspace. So even if you don't have time to meditate, if you can do a 15-20 minute workout or you know, whatever that is, it like can help so much from a mental point of view, I think.
It must be an incredible position to be in, Emily, when you know, and I don't just mean you working with people from a sort of an injured point of view, but all three of you, you know, when somebody comes to you, at times they are vulnerable, they are low, they're not, you know, whether that's a self-esteem thing, whether that's a, you know, an injury thing, whether they just feel completely lost and very vulnerable, and I don't like the word weak, but low, you know, to be in a position where you guys get to touch that person's life and take them on a journey. And wouldn't it be amazing if that journey was just like that? But it's not, and we don't even kid ourselves that it is going to be like that working with people. But Emily, what's it like when you have the chance to work with someone who's come to you because they need help?
Yeah.
And then you see how they progress, and you know, you at some point you surely must get to stand back and be like,
one of the most rewarding things in the world. And Ed touched on the word earlier, and the massive thing that I implement into my programs is this is a lifestyle. This is changing your life. And from where they have started to where they want to get to, it is a progression, and it's a gradual progression, but these changes are for good, for their better health, for their mental, physical health, for good. So it's about taking them through those steps really carefully and understanding the person that you're working with as well. So encouraging them to feel that they can confide in you with their issues, with their fears, with their, you know, any little silly questions in between appointments. I say to all of my clients, and I'm sure you guys are the same, call, text, message me anytime if you've got anything, any concerns, just being there for people, and they just need that support to get started. And once they're on their progression, they're off, and it is magic.
Yeah, so that lifestyle message is really important, isn't it? You know, this is not, it's a little bit like Ed's favorite word, the diet. Look at his face. These things aren't a here and now for like this little pocket of life. You know, and I guess that must be a massive benefit from engaging with you guys as PTs. You know, you are all busy people, you're running your businesses, you've got family lives. Gemma, you kind of split your life between here and Portugal and all of the kind of logistical nightmares that must take. But you know, so for all of you, there is a really deep understanding of how fitness fits into your life, because you guys are still fit and active, as well as facilitating that for everyone else. But I guess working with a PT is about about supporting people to build it into life, so it does become a lifestyle habit and part of their life from here moving forward in a manageable way, rather than like that quick fix. I'm going to do this for the next 6 months, I'm going to be ripped, and then I can just go back to watching Jeremy Kyle and it'll be amazing. Is even Jeremy Kyle even still on? I don't know. So let's bust some of the myths, shall we? Because we've all talked about fears, we've all talked about apprehensions, and like, you know, we know that there are the little voices in our heads that like to go to town, but we're also really honest people. So there's a massive part of excuse making in these reasons that people you know, people are offering the stoppers. So we've already kind of busted the myth that they need to be part of a gym, because they blatantly don't, which is great. We've already busted the myth that it's an indoor thing, so you can't even use the excuse that you're more of an outdoor person, because, you know, you can work with PTs outdoors as well. So let's kind of go right back to that whole, you know, someone who feels like they have zero fitness, they're in a bit of a state, you know, there's a lot of guilt, there's a lot of shame attached with the way that they're feeling about themselves. You know, so your PTs, what are you going to make them do? Are you going to make them lift weights? Gemma's already talked about the massive advantage of that. But are you going to make them pump iron so they get really muscly, so they're not going to lose weight? You know, are you going to make them run around the field on a boot camp until they are sick? I know, yes. Around a field, I can be. No, but I have got a really good track in the forest for that. So, like, what do you find that people are scared of when they first sort of come to you, and you know, what are they saying? Are you going to make me do X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, I'll just jump in. What you said there is kind of spot on. With the risk of sounding sexist, I'll often get women say to me, I don't want to lift weights, I don't want to get bulky. And then I'll often get another one is, I don't like running, I don't want to run. And I'll say, okay, well, you don't have to run, there's other ways of training. And yeah, the other one is a massive fear. Everyone's like, oh my God, I'm going to be the worst. Everyone's going to be looking at me. You know, the amount of people who say to me in a class, oh God, I'm the worst, I'm the slowest, I'm this, I'm that. And it's obviously like, even if they were, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. You're not there to score points on other people. You're there to better yourself and improve your life, improve your physical and mental health. But people get sidetracked and they start focusing on things that ultimately, if you break them down, you get really honest about them, they're not important, but they get absolutely obsessed with them. Like people say, I've had people say to me in the past that they've one time they may have stopped coming to my class because they didn't want to be last on the run. And I was like, there is no first last. It's like until you get, always be stuck, because you'll constantly be comparing yourself to everyone else, and you know nothing about their journey, whether they're doing absolutely brilliantly or they're doing awfully. It shouldn't impact on an individual. Like, say, if I'm judging myself against you, I'm losing no matter what, because whether I'm way ahead of you or way behind, it's irrelevant. It's my own individual progress that matters. So I think so many people focus on a very small detail, like, I don't want to do burpees. I'm like, okay, well, you don't have to, you know, like.
Gemma's like, I don't want to do burpees.
Also, what's your goal? What's your current capabilities? These things that should get assessed. So for me, if I was to take someone on a one-to-one level, the first thing for anything is we talk. I need to know if they will allow me to help them. And also, if I want to work with them, let's call a spade a spade. It's terrible working one-to-one with people you don't get on with. So yeah, firstly, what's the goal? Why is that the goal? Where are they at physically and mentally? And then from there, you can design what you're going to do with them if it's one-to-one. If they join a class and they can't do certain things, just find alternatives. It's really not that difficult. And I'd say to anyone, it's like when I first meet them, they're going to join my group. If there's anything you feel you can't do, let me know, and I will dissect what they're saying to me. Is it, like you're saying, is it just an excuse? Is it just something that they're holding themselves back with? Or is it a legitimate concern that needs to be, actioned? And a good trainer, like, I'll just speak for myself here, like how I'd approach this. If someone says to me, I cannot do something, in a polite way, I'll ask them why. And if it's legitimate, of course, I'm not going to make someone, like, I've got you know, I've had my knee replaced. Jump squats, loads of them. No, I wouldn't do that. But it's, identify. They don't even know that they might be holding themselves back subconsciously. They're not intentionally lying, but they're convinced that they're right about something they may well not be. So that's like a really important thing, you know.
Absolutely, a physical and psychological, you know, relationship, isn't it, for both of you? So in a class scenario, Gemma, you know, that example Ed was using about someone going, oh God, I couldn't come because I was always going to be last, or, you know, I was lying face down on the floor during the 13th and 14th burpee there or whatever, you know, and everybody else was still bouncing around. Are you more concerned, you know, are you even aware of like if someone is last or someone is missing out reps, or are you more worried about form and people being safe?
100%. Exactly what Ed just said. Like, I could not agree with him more on every point. But one thing I will say that's been really good about online stuff is I think it's taken out the element of everyone being worried about what everyone else is doing, because on a screen, they just see us, because I get them to pin me as their, so they can't see what everyone else is doing. So I think it really has helped people because they don't need to worry about if this person's done 20 more reps than them or whatever. But that's exactly what Ed said. If you're a decent trainer, which obviously we all are, you will speak to your people first and you'll find out what their limitations are. And then we've all got scaled options that everybody can do. So I always say to my guys, I've got people who are in their 60s and 70s. I've also got people in their 20s. I've got people who are really fit, people who've just had a baby, people who are pregnant, people who have got knee injuries, hip injuries, arm injuries. So you have to be aware and be able to give people, and exactly same as Ed, I always say to people, talk to me first. I'll give you your scaled options. And then when we get to, for example, burpees, you can scale a burpee like 20 different ways. So you can do your full chest to floor ones. And people who, so some of my older clients and some other people, they just pop their hands on a sofa, for example, and step back in, and they can do it. And then like, even if you're in a class, I still give them all their scaled options. And I just say to everyone, like, we don't, as trainers, all we want is for our people to be moving well. Form is so much more important than speed. Like everyone would agree with that. Like, we don't care how many reps you're doing. Better to do 10 decent reps than 20 half-assed reps, because you're only going to be injuring yourself, or kind of not cheating yourself. That's not really the right word, but like, you know, you're not doing it properly. You're probably not going to be getting the benefit of the move. So yeah, like and one thing I will say for Zoom, I've really enjoyed that element of people being able to do their own thing without worrying what everyone else is up to.
That's a really good observation. I wouldn't even necessarily have thought about that. So that kind of online support really does make a difference. Emily, I guess in theory, there's no move that you're going to ask anyone to do that you can't adapt, because, you know, I've got a bad knee, or I can't run because of my knees is a classic one. Isn't it? Oh, I've got bad knees, can't run me. You know, there are lots of people that want to be physically active, but injury or fear of injury stops them. And in their head, working with the PT is hardcore. Yeah. Actually, working with the PT is potentially the safest option if you've got injuries or concerns, right?
Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. And similar to these guys, I work with a complete mixture of ages, and the whole online learning thing has brought many of those groups more closer together than they would normally be. They'd normally be in their, you know, separate age groups in a certain way. But a lot of the stuff I'm doing, whilst I'm doing live sessions, I'm also doing lots of pre-recorded sessions. So I find myself very much giving a number of modifications and also referring back to a number of injuries that I know my clientele have got. So if you've got any injury, this is your modification. If you have a lower back injury, this is your one. And just being sensible, but exactly like we've said, you know, giving them the correct advice. It's got to be goal orientated around that person. Nobody comes into a personal training or fitness program with the same goals. They've all got it, want to do it for a different reason, whether that is a fitness goal or a body goal or whatever that is. So I think it's just really important, just echoing what these guys have said, exactly that. We work with our clients, we discuss with them what they want, and everything is goal orientated to the finish line.
Cool. Okay, so these are all the right messages that are coming out here, which is absolutely fantastic. Ultimately, though, you know, what would you say? And I'm going to ask each of you to kind of, you know, offer up a nugget here. What would you say is the biggest difference then between your clients that, you know, I'm sure you can kind of think back to your classic clients, your example clients that you've worked with over many, many years. We've got a lot of years experience between the three of you here. What do you think makes the difference in terms of stickability, you know, when you've got someone who has come and they have shared their apprehensions with you, what is the thing that makes the biggest difference in that client sticking this out?
I think one of the, do you mind if I jump in first? Sorry,
No,
guys.
I'm going first. I thought this would be like all the time. I thought you would be competing with each other for answering, but you know, this is good. You're really relaxed with each other.
Do you know one thing that I would highly recommend is find a type of exercise that you enjoy, whether that's dancing, running, you know, whether you love boot camps. Everybody has one thing that is my thing. That is what I love. And whilst it's great to do a mixture of everything, but when you're getting started, find something that you enjoy, because then you'll be inspired and then you'll start to see the results, and then you're on that lifestyle change, and it's perfect. I'll let somebody else now have an answer.
So that's top tip number 1.
Do you want to go?
Oh, you're so polite, Gemma. I was going to wait for you to go ladies first.
You want some thinking time?
All right, okay, thanks, Ed. I would exactly what Emily just said in terms of finding something you love, each to their own, like 100% believe that, like, but also trying different things to see what you love as well helps, but also finding like the people or the person to work with who you can like vibe with, and and checking in. So from my point of view, if I've got someone new who's starting with me, I'll keep checking in with them for the next forever, really. Like, so if I think about the people that have been with me from the beginning, it's the ones that we've built a real relationship with, and it's not just like we're not client PT. We have like an actual relationship, and we know, you know, it doesn't have to go past any lines of, you know, some people just want to come to the gym, get their workout done. Each person's different, but it's building that trust, and also checking in with people and seeing, did they enjoy that workout? Was that enjoyable? Do they feel like they're making progress? And do they want to carry on doing this or that? And it's whilst I can look at somebody and say, for your goals, I think you should do this, it's also checking in with them often and finding out, are they still enjoying it? Do they feel motivated? Are they starting to think, oh, I don't really want to do that anymore? And if they do, then it's changing it up to hit things they want to do and keeping them interested and enjoying it, really.
So being willing to actually view this not as a client provider type thing, but actually building that relationship so that you can have those conversations, you can get under the surface, you can really support. So we've got finding something that you love and committing to building the relationship. Ed, how are you going to finish us off there then?
Well, firstly, I totally go along with what both girls said. I agree with all of those points. I would say also as well is really, really important. I think people often take it for granted, and it can sound cliche, but understanding that person needs to understand what is their why is so important. What is their why? And also, why is that their why? So those two things, getting really, really clear on that. So I'll often speak to people and I'll ask, and usually it'll be a very kind of surface level answer. I just want to tone up a bit, lose a bit of weight, feel a bit better. And it's very bland, it's very generic. But ultimately, there's always much deeper levels that will bring someone and also keep them. And if that's what I'm saying, if they don't know what that is, then they're more likely to disappear when times get tough. It's when you're not seeing the improvement you thought you would, you can get distracted and you think, oh, maybe this isn't, well, I'm not really into it, whatever. But when you know your why, and I tell people to write it down and keep it so they see it regularly. When you know that, it will help you navigate your way through the tough times. So ultimately, knowing what your why is, why that's so important to you, and then also belief, because belief is massive. Without belief, you've got nothing. Because if you don't, and this is so many people, and it's happened to me as well in different situations, if you don't actually believe you can achieve what you're trying to do, you'll find a way of checking out, because you'll go to the gym or whatever it is, be like, oh, I should do this. But do you actually believe you can? And ultimately, certainly if you train on your own and you don't really know what you're doing, you've got good cause in terms of not believing it. So I'd say, obviously, this isn't a sales pitch, but get help, and you've got to invest, not just a money value thing. It's like you've got to invest in it psychologically, you know, going a bit deep, but spiritually, you've got to actually think why you're doing this. Because like you said, it's never like that. You might be going like this and everything's great, and before you know it, boom, that happened for whatever reason. Like I say, maybe you got injured, maybe you got ill, maybe your work your shift pattern changed, or you had a tragedy or something, you've got it. That's when your why's got to come out and bring you back on course.
Again, then you guys as PTs and coaches, you know, when you've connected with that person, built that relationship Gemma was talking about, and really helped them to crystallize and understand that why, you know, I guess that's where, again, having that PT support, you know, sometimes those dark days are like, it's the last thing on our minds to remember why we're doing something. But I guess that's where you guys have earned that moment of stepping into their space and saying, listen, I know it's dark in here, mate, but remember what this is all about.
Absolutely.
And I imagine that there's, you know, I know you guys all sort of hold the privilege of that moment dear to what you do, and it's a really important part of what you do, you know. So we've said what a great experience it is to take people on this journey, and we've said how important really building those relationships with those clients are, but that means you get really involved in people's lives. So kind of let's change it a little bit then. What is the toughest part of your job?
I think probably the most frustrating part is when you can see so much, when somebody comes along and gives everything for a really short space of time, and then they check out, like what Ed said, if they've not bought into why they're doing it. Or sometimes as well, it's not even about the person. It might be that they don't necessarily have a supportive family, or perhaps their family have other, it might not even be about that. It might be that their family have other commitments. And often as parents, so more often not be the parents that come to see us, they obviously will put their children and family first, so suddenly other things might crop up. And I think it's quite frustrating when you see someone, or you'll have people that come and go, and then they come and go, and they start making really good progress, and then they back out, and then they really get frustrated with themselves. So they're like, oh, well, I did this and I could do that, and it's like that never end. Like, I've got a girl who I was talking to yesterday, and she's been with me on and off for 3 years, and this is exactly, and she's like, I said text her yesterday, and I was like, come tonight. Like, I don't bother people, but she just needs a bit of encouragement. And she rang me afterwards. She's like, that was the best thing I've done for myself in weeks. And I'm like, I know, because you always tell me that. But then she's like, I'm going to book him, you know. And it's that I find that really quite hard, because you can
permission to put themselves first sometimes, isn't it? It's okay to choose you tonight. It's okay to do this for you today.
Yeah.
Emily, what's the toughest part of your working life?
Yeah, sum it up. Gemma's really, it's people's excuses. It's really hard to deal with when you know that if they are consistent with the activity that you're trying to encourage them to do, that they are going to get the results. But that giving up too easy, you know, it can take a while to see these results sometimes. You have to get in and get committed. And often other people will notice changes in them before they notice the change themselves. So yeah, when people start to exactly that, they attend for a bit and then, oh, I'm not I haven't got that six pack yet, or I haven't, you know, rehabbed, or I haven't lost this amount of weight, or whatever it might be. You just think you just got to be consistent.
Yeah. Ed, you touched on this a minute ago when you talked about injury, because I know that, you know, even from a personal point of view, you and Sarah have both like literally had to rehab yourself through injury and get back, you know, stay in the game. You provide this service to your clients. But when you see someone who hits that low that injury brings, because God, it really does, it really can take someone out.
Yeah.
How have you found it best to support them so that they don't quit on themselves rather than, you know, quit on the program?
That's a great question, because unfortunately, and it's not even training related, injuries happen. The human body gets injured. We're not all symmetrical. We don't all line up straight. There's loads of different potential issues. And then you can have a trauma. You can fall over when you've had a few wines, and before you know it, you know, like these happen. But what we do, because I'm not a physio, I'm not an injury specialist. So in my group, in Empower, our online group, we have a chiropractor and a physio who sit in the group. So basically what happens is, let's say you're in my group there and you say to me, I've got this and this injury. Well, to be honest, I'm not an expert in that. I've got a basic knowledge of injuries and prevention, cure, etc. But I'm not on that level. That's not my thing. So I will straight away direct them to the person in our group that specializes in that area, and I'll get them to take expert advice, because I'm not an expert, so I don't want to give advice on that, you know. So I think it's extremely important that people understand that whether you're trained or not, injuries can happen. And just because you're trained doesn't mean you're going to get injured. Ideally, you shouldn't do. And it's going to make your body stronger, which again, especially as you get older, is going to safeguard you against a lot of the injuries and problems with the human body as it ages. So yeah, for me, I just direct them straight to an expert. and then I liaise with that expert going forward about bringing them back into the program and the gradual steps that needs, depending on what the situation is, what the injury is.
Brilliant. So it's actually, you know, it's about keeping that relationship open then, isn't it? You know, Emily, you're lucky that you can kind of treat them and support them,
Yeah,
in that sense, physically as treatment specialist.
yeah,
It goes back to this relationship Gemma was talking about, doesn't it? So that, you know, yes, this is, you know, you've been sitting at your desk during lockdown all day and your back is shot, so you're finding training really difficult at the moment. But the fact that they've communicated that to you because you've built that relationship, and then, you know, Gemma, your lovely check-in messages of like, how's the back doing? You know, just hang on in there. You will, you know, if you're doing the things your physio are advising you to, you'll be back in class, you'll be back lifting in no time. It kind of comes back down to that relationship, doesn't it?
Also, some people have injuries that they limit themselves just because they're like, oh, I've got a bad elbow, can't train anymore. And I'm like, why can't you train anymore? I've got a bad elbow. That doesn't stop you doing anything else. And that's why we can all give you, and it's that thing as well, that frustration. Like same as Ed, I haven't had like operations and stuff, but I have 3 quite big injuries that I've carried for the last 2 years. I've been in, bear in mind, I work in a gym where we lift. I went through a year where I didn't pick up a weight. I couldn't, like my back was too bad. But like we're all able to give, I still trained because there are so many other things you can do. And so it's people giving up too soon sometimes, or just like, that's another frustration. People being like, well, I can't come because this little thing. And I'm like, but obviously you don't aggravate it. And obviously we will do everything in our power to not aggravate that area, of course, but there are other things you can be doing.
And then when that takes that right back to the mental health aspect that we talked about at the start, of actually helping you to feel strong in other ways, distracting you from your worries, distracting you from your pain, and knowing that they're working with you rather than taking themselves off and doing something that they found on YouTube, or, you know, going out for a run and potentially making something worse. All of you guys have worked through injuries yourself. So you have a personal as well as a professional understanding of how you need to be careful, but how you need to keep going. And I think that's great because, as Gemma said, you kind of also won't let them go, right, this is the reason why I have to leave. You're very much like, no, we're going to come back slightly. So we've kind of talked of lots of aspects of your different businesses and the different ways that you work, but and obviously all your contact details for all of your websites and social media and stuff is going to be with this video, and it's going to be on the link for the podcast when this goes out to the big wide world too. So how does someone actually get started working with you guys? Emily, let's start with you.
Anyway, just get in touch, whether that's call, text message, find me on social media. And as we've touched on, we get together or have a chat currently virtually, and get some goals in place. And then I will create a program for that person and we just get started. It's really simple, but it's all about that person.
Cool. And is that pretty much the same for you, Gemma, and same for you, Ed?
Yeah, I mean, I work with, I'm probably the same as these guys, work in person with people in the gym, but since we've really embraced the whole online thing, I have been doing quite a lot with online clients, and I think that's, and like I have like a group as well, so a bit like Ed, we have like a group where people do stuff and it's all on Facebook and stuff, so there's lots of options. So yeah, just get in touch and can have a chat.
Cool. How about you, Ed?
So yeah, via
Forrester, haven't they?
Yeah, so via Facebook, or LinkedIn or Instagram, any of those. I also website, literally, that's a bit arrogant, Google my name, come up, Ed Mobbs, MOBBS, and Empower, EM, just get the old advertising in there. So yeah, look us up, Empower Fitness, and it's either, there's different avenues, I mean, depending on what the person wants. But we have the face-to-face group, which we starting again, outdoor boot camp style classes. We also do follow-along workouts, like literally me on the camera doing the workout, and then say you'd be doing it with. And then online coaching, as in writing programs for people. Well, we got clients in Australia, Switzerland, Sweden, all over the place. So depending on what the person wants, there's different things, but we find them all through Empower. Just looks up on Facebook.
Cool. So lockdown has meant that actually you guys have sort of gone global. There's nowhere in the world that you couldn't reach. Suck that up. That's a great thought. You know, But if somebody was determined that online wasn't the way for them and they wanted to find a PT close to them, what would be your top tip for finding the right person?
I'll jump in. So for me, like anything, do some research, ask around. Don't just, what I would say, and it's taking me out of the situation, don't just go to someone because someone else said. Do some research. And I would try, which is something we do, talk to the person, whether it's face to face, depending on what the situation, or on the phone, and just get a feel for that person, because you never know. Like, you may get on great with me, Beck, but the next person doesn't, and that's going to be a potential stumbling block. So you've got to, if you're working one-on-one with a person, I said it earlier, you've got to be able, you don't have to be best friends, but you've got to be able to get on so it works, you know what I mean? So I think that's very important. And yeah, just do your research, just shop around a little bit, see what feels right.
Yeah, great advice. Thanks, Ed. So 2021, before we wrap up, as we come out of lockdown, obviously disco dancing or burpeeing out of lockdown or whatever, lifting out of lockdown. What are you excited about in the next 12 months? Emily, let's kick off for you.
Well, yeah, getting back to face-to-face, seeing some of my lovely ladies not in a little box anymore, and being back in face-to-face, because I do teach majority ladies. I am totally open to training men as well, but just I seem to attract more ladies in that sense. The progression of my life, online business as well, actually, because that's been massive, and I've kind of created this now monthly subscription so people get involved, whether it be PT or all the other elements that I offer dance and fitness wise. So I'll be growing that more, which is something I never thought I'd do. And more expansion of my rehab clinic, because my baby is going to be going to school this year. So yeah, I'm going to have to start working a bit more, I think.
Awesome. How exciting to have that opportunity.
Absolutely.
What about you, Gemma? When's Portugal on the cards?
Yes, we're going out to Portugal in July.
Woo.
Yeah, so pretty much the same, actually. So can't wait to get back and see people in person, but I've also really loved building stuff online and being able to work with people. So even though I obviously in the gym lift and do all the weights and stuff, I've actually found a lot of my clients just want to move. They don't care. Like, weightlifting, I personally think is awesome for everyone, but equally I believe that if you're moving in some form and that's what you can fit in, then that's amazing. So I've loved doing my online stuff. I've created an online monthly group, and I've been doing a lot of stuff in there, like mobility work and core work and isolated in different areas and stuff, which obviously you need to work your whole body, but I've been putting like lots of short workouts in for people to do, and they've been fitting that in around their stuff. So just excited for that to grow, really, and to kind of keep working with people in that way.
Brilliant. And Ed, what's going on for you and Sarah in the next 12 months?
So similar, I'm really looking forward to getting back to doing face-to-face work, but especially we do residential boot camp weekends, and also we do them just for a day. So the first one, we're going to Merthyr Mawr in Wales to do, we call this one the Brutal Beast Boot Camp. So this is aimed at the higher level of fitness, and I'm really blatant about that because I think it's horses for courses, and this one intermediate/advanced. So we're going to be doing that, and then as soon as we can, we're going to get some weekends on the go, where we basically search out a place somewhere in the UK to take the guys, do loads of, it's basically exercise, eat, sleep, repeat, and we just do that non-stop for the weekend. It's awesome. So it's a lot of hard exercise, but also some like stretch sessions, etc. So it's basically like training like a professional athlete for a weekend. Yeah, they're awesome. I absolutely love them. So yeah, I can't wait to be able to do those again. I've really missed those. We've all missed them. And then yeah, just getting back with my group. Like, the group's been great. We've interacted a lot like this online the whole time. They stayed committed. I've done what I needed to do for them, and they've stepped up as well. So I'm basically, yeah, I'm just looking forward to getting back to face-to-face, get some normality, do some Beast residentials, and keep pushing the online, and yeah, reach more people around the world with that. So that's
fantastic, guys. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much, all of you, for being part of the Tip the Balance tribe. I'm really proud to showcase you guys. I'm really proud to just point people in your direction, because I know that you're a safe pair of hands, because you're actual proper human beings and everything, and you accept every part of life, the good, the bad and the ugly, and you know, you're very, very grounded in that respect. So thanks so much for being part of today. Thanks so much for being part of the Tip the Balance crew, and I can't wait to see you all again soon. I know Emily's rolling up her sleeve. She's got a client on the way in. So see you all soon, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
See you later.